Lake Placid 2 is a direct follow-up to Lake Placid. This was released in 2007 and was directed by David Flores. Now, this is very clearly a TV film. We are talking a nosedive in budget. Now, I don't know the budget for Lake Placid, and I don't know the budget for Lake Placid 2 exactly, but if I were to take a guess, I would say that the budget dropped like 90%. I mean, the effects on this crocodile compared to the effects on the crocodile in Lake Placid are nuts. Like, if Lake Placid was $1 million, this is 100,000 or less. Like I said, I don't know the budgets. So, does that make this film bad though, or not enjoyable? It's a TV film. I mean, it feels like a sci-fi film. If you like sci-fi films, like I do, you know, I'm a bad movie aficionado, like I keep mentioning. I can appreciate them for what they are, and this film was a ton of fun. The first one was better. I'm gonna say that's right off the bat. I don't know how they progress after this, because this, like, all the films that I'm watching of Lake Placid from here on out are 100% first time watches. I don't even remember watching any clips of them or anything like that. So it's pretty much going to be an adventure for me. But with this one, you're introduced with another attack on a boat. Except this one, it's done a lot more campy. This guy loses his arm, and you can totally tell, like, there's green screen going with his arm kind of thing, like cut off right there. And the arm is then thrown back to this guy on the boat named Frank, and Frank is a character that's introduced at the beginning of the film, but Frank is boating with this guy doing something or other, but he falls in the water, and there's another crocodile attack. And then we're introduced to this guy, the sheriff of the town, named Sheriff Riley, and he has a son named Scott, and right off the bat, Scott is, of course, mouthing off to his dad, and you know, because he's with his dad for a month, I believe, for reasons unexplained, but he's visiting for a month basically in this Maine town, because this takes place in Maine once again. And Sheriff Riley is awesome. I really, really like Sheriff Riley as a character. He makes a great, like, protagonist, like main character of the film, and he carries this film really, really, really well. When Scott is mouthing off to his father, he's just, like, basically saying, like, listen, I'm not one of your friends, I'm not one of your, like, colleagues, I'm your father, so I demand respect, kind of thing. And he has that disciplined tone to him. And obviously it sounds like, oh, whatever, I'm a teen angst and shit. But Riley's just so sarcastic, and such a... he's just so... he's just such a leader. Like, he knows, you know, when to not take shit, when to, you know, how to communicate, how to, you know, speak with people properly. Like, he's not a dick at all. There's even a point where he catches his son Scott staring at this girl, and he comes onto the camera, he's like, so when are you going to talk to her? To the son, and he's like, oh, I don't know, when I feel like it. And he's just like, so when are you going to talk to her? And the son's like, well, if if it's such a big deal to you, why don't you go talk to her yourself? And I'm just like, wouldn't stop me. You don't want her, I'll take her. But regardless, he's like, careful what you wish for. And then he gets in his truck and he drives right over to the girl, and he's like, hey, my son has something to tell you and whatnot. So he's basically, like, kind of pushing her towards his son. And when he goes to the police station, or the sheriff's station, whatever you want to call it, he's talking to Frank, and there's this paparazzi situation, because the town rumor is that this other person died in the lake, and he just totally shuts the paparazzi down. He's basically like, if you don't get that camera out of my face, then we're going to be finding you at the bottom of the lake, something like that. But he's, like, not mean or anything. He's just like this sarcastic, dude. He's hilarious. Now, Frank is telling the story of what happened on the boat, and automatically Sheriff Riley assumes that he, like, was eating brownies or taking mushrooms or something like that. Now, that I found weird, because is it really an unbelievable story that you went boating and an animal attacked you, like, I mean, you have the body, which he shows. It doesn't show the body, but they discovered an arm and a leg or something like that, and it's underneath a gurney. So he's like, literally, I'll show you the body parts of this dude. Like, they're right here. And Sheriff Riley is just so nonchalant about it. He's like, have you been eating brownies? It's like, okay, I'm not talking about UFOs here. I'm talking about a freaking attack on a lake. Like, how is that so unbelievable? So that I found a little bit strange. But we get this woman coming in who's named Emma, and you obviously get the impression that Emma is Riley's ex-wife. I'm assuming, anyway. And even the way he deals with her, like, he's still like, there's no bitterness. He's just himself. He takes his job seriously. He's not gonna, because she's called in from wildlife or something like that, and he's not gonna let that get him down. He's not gonna let that make him emotional. He's just, joking around and just doing his job and telling her to do her own job and being, cool about it. So his character is really, really, he's a good protagonist in the film, I would say. The dubbing is horrible. Now, the dubbing, I mean, I'm not saying it's horrible where it doesn't match the lips, because it does, but you can definitely tell that this film was completely dubbed over, because just by listening to it, it doesn't sound natural a lot of times, and you can tell that, there's a lot of dubbing going on, and there's a lot of times where it just doesn't sound like the characters are actually legitimately speaking in that moment, kind of thing. But that's with the budget. That's with the B moviness of the film. So it doesn't hurt the film or anything like that. It's just very noticeable, kind of thing. So we're introduced to Mrs. Bickerman's sister. Mrs. Bickerman, played by Betty White, is mentioned in this film. Her face looked very familiar, so I definitely had to look her up and see what else she was in, because her face looked familiar. She definitely is a fine replacement for Betty White as, Mrs. Bickerman, being the classic character of the first one. When I saw her, I was really hoping that they didn't recast Mrs. Bickerman as this woman, because I mean that would be just that would hurt the film if they did, because they don't look alike. But the fact that they made her sister Sadie Bickerman as Betty White's character's sister, now playing her sister in the film, made a lot more sense. And she is not as crazy, but she's definitely got that sass to her that adds a really good character to the film. Obviously, she's feeding some crocs. In this film, there actually ends up being 3 crocs, which are funny. Their names are funny. One of them is named Margaret after Martha. After Martha Stewart, and another one is named after some kind of president and whatnot. You have this villain character that comes in as well, who Emma just despises because he has a history of killing a bunch of bobcats, when bobcats are like borderline extinct and very rare creatures in the world. But this guy's just nonchalant. He's basically the guy you call in to exterminate animals, pretty much. And Emma does not have a good relationship with this dude. He sounds Irish from his voice, but he has a sidekick also named Ahmed, and Ahmed he basically like treats him like his bitch. Like, just Ahmed is basically the guy who does all his dirty work, and he doesn't even thank the guy. There's a scene where he just says "fuck it all," and the main villain is like, oh, why don't you get me some Blue Label scotch or something like that. You just like get it yourself, and then he just basically gives his resignation right there. He's like, literally, I've been doing your dirty work for 14 years, and I think my debt's paid in full. So see you later, peace out. I really liked that moment. I really liked how he stood up for himself. I appreciated that a lot. You get lots of titties in this film, and you get lots of punk rock in this film, so it definitely fits the 2000s to a T. When in doubt, throw in punk, pop punk, and titties, and water. Titties, water, and punk rock or pop punk. You're good to go for a early 2000s film. You know, all the boxes are checked with that one. We're introduced also to Emma's friends. She's dating this completely stereotypical douchebag. I mean, the definition of stereotypical douchebag. This guy is just ripping on Scott the whole time. I'm surprised Scott didn't punch him out. Scott's like a really good guy who obviously doesn't like to get into fights because this guy's just wow. Wow, this guy is like the polo wearing popped collar fucking douche to a T. I mean, my gosh. There's a scene where he's basically just telling Scott like that he can have Emma if she wants because he'll just replace her with some other girl if he has to or something like that. And then he kind of like backs up and he's crushing a bunch of like crocodile eggs, like these big ass eggs, and he's just crushing them because he's a piece of shit. And then he doesn't realize that there's a crocodile behind him, and Emma and Scott are like, "Yo, like, don't move. Come over here. There's a crocodile right behind you." And he's just like, "Oh yeah, what are you talking about?" Because he thinks they're punking him or something like that. And then he, you know, gets eaten. So there's no remorse on that one. Like with his attitude, he's just a fuckhead. So yeah, no remorse on that one whatsoever. But the CGI in this film is definitely like cranked to 11. I mean, they even CGI the freaking plane when the villain comes in. The plane is completely CGI. And there's a boat attack where the crocodile attacks a boat. So you got this completely cartoon looking crocodile smashing the CGI boat up, and it just nothing looks like it's actually happening on screen. Everything looks so digital, and it just adds to the B movie gloriness to this film. So the film is fun. Like, I'm not saying any of these things to diss the film. I'm just saying that it's an extremely sci-fi feeling, low budget film that you can have a lot of fun with, but definitely know what you're getting into and know if you like those kind of films or not, pretty much. There are some scenes closer to the third act that really feel Jurassic Park-ish because there's a lot of rain elements, and the cinematography on those scenes look really good. Just like, I'm talking about cinematography wise, this film is obviously has like no comparison to Jurassic Park, but the way certain shots are filmed and rain effects, the way they're done, it looks like a lot of the scenes in the third act of Jurassic Park when, you know, after that car goes off the cliff and whatnot and the trees and all that kind of, I saw that comparison in a few shot choices in this film kind of thing. And basically the film just leads up to a point where your villain wants to, I forget his name, but your villain wants to destroy the crocodile, and you got Emma who wants to study it because this is could be a prehistoric creature, just like in the first film. You know, one side wanted to keep the animal for research and the other side just wanted to destroy it. But she, you know, at the end of the day, basically she ends up just harvesting the eggs. Then they discover there's 3 crocodiles too. Ahmed actually ends up killing one of them. That's why I mentioned that when he resigned, he's like, "Yo, my debt's paid. I just killed this motherfucker, like, for you. And you can't even give me a thank you. You're just asking me to get you some fucking whiskey. Like, go fuck yourself." So that's one of the reasons I like them. And then after that, they start to go hunting for the other 2 crocodiles, and there's good action scenes. As much CGI as they use in this film, the action scenes are still fun, and I mean, it's a great popcorn film, if anything, kind of thing. You know, that's what these are made for. They're just popcorn movies, right? You have a scene where Sadie Bickerman shows her true colors in her psychoticness, and there's one scene because she's also feeding a bunch of meat to the crocodiles, trying to keep them just like her sister did. That's why the sheriff is like trying to investigate this woman, because he's wondering if she's following the same footsteps as her sister did, and she's following a lot more actually, because there's a scene where she gets a hold of Carrie, the young girl that Scott's after, and she tries to feed her to the croc. She like is literally about to feed her to the croc, but Carrie gets away, and then Sadie ends up falling into the crocodile's mouth instead. So it's fitting. I mean, you want to raise your crocodiles, be prepared for them to eat your ass, kind of thing. Um, and I love too. It's hilarious. During one of the crocodile's deaths, it's I, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Carrie that kills her, but she kills the crocodile with a machete when there's two men in the same vicinity with rifles. Two adult men with rifles, like sniper rifles or, like high caliber fucking rifles. And the chick kills the crocodile herself with a machete. I'm like, wow, you just showed who's boss. You just showed those dudes who's a boss ass bitch right there. That was a boss ass bitch moment, and I loved it. So yeah, basically the film concludes with, like I said, Emma taking the eggs. Obviously, lo and behold, Emma and Sheriff Riley hit it off once again. There's a heartfelt moment with Scott and his dad. He finally like stops being a douchebag to his dad and like gives him a hug and whatnot in the third act. So he definitely has a revolutionary moment on being attacked by crocodiles in the middle of the forest after a beach party with those tits and punk rock. Can't forget that. And yeah, it's cool. And then it ends basically how you think it's gonna end. Emma takes the eggs. Lo and behold, happily ever after. And I guess we'll just have to see where the third film basically takes off. Whether it's a completely different story, a completely different plot line, or whether it's going to tie into these first two films. But I had fun with this one. Like I said, the budget and the quality of the film is definitely a nosedive. But I already know that the first film obviously is going to be the best film. Like, but I'm really excited to see which one outside of the first film that I like best, and I hope none are like boring. That's obviously the worst thing you can do with B films is make them boring. So if they're not boring, then there's not going to be any problems with them, basically. That's Lake Placid 2. Lake Placid 3 will be coming soon. It's got great characters, and it's got a lot of good like action scenes. Like the pacing of it is very good. It doesn't ever bore you. There's no dull moments, anything like that. And you got a really good protagonist, like I said, with Sheriff Riley. He's pretty hilarious. But yeah, that's Lake Placid 2. So subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. There's lots more to come. I'm reviewing this franchise. I'm still going to be reviewing the entire Children of the Corn franchise, and then I'm going to be reviewing whatever the fuck else I feel like reviewing. So lots to come and lots already on the channel, so check it out. Take care till next time. Cheers.